Hello, I'm Helen Kivnick. And I'll be talking with you today about living vital involvement. The construct we call vital involvement emerges from the basic notion of human development, that a human being or person lives, grows, develops, and otherwise behaves in a process of ongoing mutual interaction and reciprocal influence with a larger environment. Vital involvement is defined as meaningful engagement with the world outside the self. It includes processes through which the environment influences the person, and also processes through which the person influences the environment. By environment, we mean family and household, neighborhood and community, and also the natural and the built environment. Keep in mind that both person and environment continue to influence one another. The concept of vital involvement provides a somewhat different lens for you to look through when you consider everything Jen Hively has been saying about purposeful living and meaningful work. Vital involvement also relates in several ways to Peter Whitehouse's talk on brain health. Think back to his discussion of geometric metaphors for brain health. He described depth as purpose and meaning in life. This is essential to what I'm calling personal vitality. And he described breadth as family and community, which is analogous to what I'm calling environmental vitality. Vital involvement is what links these two entities. It's the connection between the core self, your identity, your essence, and everything outside, and also everything deep inside that isn't entirely conscious. So what constitutes meaningful? Well, it's significant, important, consequential, carries great weight, having an important effect, momentous, far-reaching, substantial, valuable, having worth, connected to the essence, evocative, expressive, telling, and eloquent. And what do we mean by engagement or to engage? Well, engagement has to do with involve, connect, engross, relate, interact, absorb, grip, include, contain, take in, implicate, draw in, embroil, concern, affect, interest, be relevant to. Vital involvement is the process of a person being in meaningful relation to his or her external environment, as being engaged in whatever he or she finds meaningful. The environment provides both supports and obstacles that influence how and to what extent one is able to be vitally involved with the world through exercising their skills and abilities and pursuing their interests and values. The left arrow on the slide indicates the process through which the environment influences the person. The right arrow on the slide indicates a person influencing the environment. And they both continue to influence one another in a cycle that continues indefinitely. So I'm often asked, how does vital involvement differ from ordinary activity? And the answer has to do with the depth of personal engagement, with the presence of reciprocity, and with the possibility of being changed. Whenever you're vitally involved with something, both you and whoever or whatever you're vitally involved with stand a chance of emerging from that experience changed. Now, this doesn't mean that every moment that you're vitally involved with anything is going to be a life-changing experience for you, but it means that it could prove to become a life-changing experience for you. Both environment and individual are simultaneously evolving and reciprocally influencing each other. Vital involvement is a mechanism that underlies a great deal of what goes on as we live and grow throughout most of our lives. We all live and develop in a social and physical environment, including family, friends, neighborhood, school, work, place of worship, community, society, built environment, natural environment, and much more. As we engage in processes of developing, growing up, maturing, living our lives, and growing older, all of these levels of environment are influencing who we become. And at any point in time, we express who we are through our behaviors. We participate in meaningful relationships and activities out in the environment in which we're living. We can think of who we are at any point in time as an intricate collection of strengths and challenges. It's these that prompt our relationships and activities. We can think of the environment as a nearly infinite collection of supports for and obstacles to the expression of behaviors by its occupants. Now, it's easy to see how this vital involvement cycle is important in early life development. Parents support a child's developmental milestones, and they're rewarded in their parenting by growing robust, healthy children. We need to see this same vital involvement cycle as being every bit as important in the development that continues to take place throughout life, including senior adulthood. This is what Peter Whitehouse was referring to as lifelong brain health. At any point in time, the person takes advantage of environmental supports and opportunities. For instance, you're all using some kind of computer to engage in this presentation. You're involved in a program and an organization that are sponsoring the ALPA class. Environmental supports and opportunities enable you to express your interest. For example, you're interested in learning new skills and concepts to become involved with elders in your community in a new way. And of course, you use environmental supports to overcome personal problems or weaknesses. You enlarge the image on your screen to meet your personal visual needs. And you use personal strengths to overcome environmental deficits. So perhaps you're viewing this presentation together with a friend because your own computer is being repaired. Moving beyond traditionally structured work life offers many seniors the opportunity to concentrate on strengths, minimize weaknesses, and take advantage of unique environmental supports. But in order to do that, we need to know what our individual strengths are and be in an environment that supports our acting on these strengths. In order to keep the whole cycle vibrant, we need to meet our individual needs in ways that keep the environment strong and able to support everyone's needs. So as you work through these ideas for your own life, and then as you use them in working with clients, keep in mind that the challenge is always to strengthen the individual in a way that the individual enriches the environment. I can't emphasize enough the importance of vital involvement as mutual and as a cycle. We are influenced by the environment. We influence the environment in return. In working with seniors, we need to pay attention both to each person and also to their overall environment. As I've said before, we need to help meet a person's needs in ways that enable them to contribute to the environment's overall capacity. That is, what we're really doing is working to strengthen the person and strengthen the environment and strengthen the connections between them. Part of promoting vital involvement in clients is ensuring that their environment supports and responds to their expressions of vitality. That means that we must try to influence the environment as well as work with individual seniors. A first step toward doing that is recognizing that whenever we interact with a senior, we are part of their environment. So we need to monitor our own interaction with clients to support and encourage their attention to their own strengths. Although it sometimes seems that our society is set up to obstruct vital involvement or to actually promote elders' frustration and helplessness, senior advocacy involves helping both individual seniors and also larger organizations to change. Being vitally involved means being fully present and open to change, and that means both to changing and to being changed. We all need to be vitally involved. We as individuals, we as elder advocates and elder supporters, we as citizens. As an aside, these elements are all central to creativity, and that's the same creativity that underlies doing art and that also underlies effectively solving problems. This complex diagram tries to link all of the concepts we've mentioned so far with the notions of strengths, skills, assets, abilities, and supports in a positive direction, and with problems, deficits, weaknesses, risks, barriers, and obstacles in a negative direction. What I want you to see here is that the positives on the top half of the slide exist both in each person and also in each environment, and correspondingly the negatives on the bottom of the slide also exist in each person and environment. Throughout life, all of us have, to some extent, played to our strengths and taken advantage of environmental supports to overcome and minimize and compensate for weaknesses. For instance, we rely on helpful friends, on community services, therapeutic procedures, medicines. All of these can be considered environmental supports for overcoming or compensating for weaknesses. In a society that is so poorly prepared for the huge, extremely diverse senior population we already have, not to mention the elder population we're growing by the minute, there are too few supports for seniors playing to their strengths, too many barriers to seniors playing to their strengths, and far too much support for emphasizing both personal and community deficits and problems. When Jan Hively talked about blue zones and the ways that these long-lived elders continue to contribute to their communities and, in the process, live long, healthy, satisfied lives, this dynamic is exactly what she was describing. The blue zones permit and require elders to contribute as they are able in order for everyone to survive. In fulfilling their responsibilities, the elders maintain optimal physical strength, health, and capacities. When Jan talks about the importance of purposeful life and meaningful work, she is also saying, essentially, that people do best when they have something meaningful in their life, something to look forward to each day to make life worth getting up for, some reason to be exercising their motor, cognitive, emotional, and spiritual capacities. That is, something to focus on apart from the bodily pains and pressures that all of us experience. When a community is sufficiently wealthy in human capital, it can support citizens in compensating or recovering from illnesses and deficits precisely because it also takes full advantage of everyone's need to contribute, to be creative, and to make a positive difference. In this slide, we essentially turn the diagram on its side to emphasize the overall equal and reciprocal influences of senior and environment. As the vital involvement cycle begins, the environment influences the senior in a way that enables their ability to become and remain vitally involved with the world. So the environment serves as a promoter of vital involvement, and the senior as a receiver of that promotion. But as the cycle continues, the senior enriches the environment's capacity to continue to promote vital involvement in other people. So the senior becomes the promoter, and the environment becomes the receiver. Let me give you an example from your ALPA program. As you participate in the classes, the program itself is promoting your vital involvement in learning and in conceptualizing your community in newer, richer ways. In this phase, the program is promoter and you are receiver. As you begin to engage in your fieldwork, you find yourself promoting vital involvement among individuals, programs, and organizations in your community. And in this phase, you senior learners have become promoters, and the environment has become the receiver. When you share your fieldwork experiences back with the class, each of you has the opportunity to be a promoter as you describe your own project and community. Everyone else in the class, including the facilitator, is a receiver as they learn from your experiences. Each of you, in turn, will move back and forth between roles of promoter and receiver. Let me give you an example from the Sisters of St. Joseph of Carondelet, a service-oriented order of extremely aged nuns in St. Paul, Minnesota. These sisters needed to replace their even older convent building, but instead of simply building a structure to house themselves, they decided to build a much larger building that would also enable them to continue providing service to elders in the surrounding urban neighborhoods. Their beautiful new complex now includes apartments for senior community residents and well-designed common spaces for woodworking, pottery, weaving, painting, computing, exercising, praying, meditating, reading, and more. It also includes programs, workshops, classes, and a variety of social and healthcare services, all available both to residents and to neighborhood seniors. Active volunteer programs encourage neighborhood residents to share their skills, talents, and time with the sisters, and to learn from and grow with these continually inspiring elder women in return. The two vital involvement tools you completed before class help you look at your personal strengths through a somewhat different lens from the assessment tools that have been presented to you so far. These tools help you identify in yourself a variety of core strengths you may not have thought to call strengths. They enable you to conceptualize strengths so that you can link your personal strengths to community institutions and opportunities, and identify specific strengths that are clearly related to becoming vitally involved in very specific ways in your particular community. You'll be able to do this in three ways. One, tweak your own engagement in existing activities, institutions, and organizations. Two, identify existing but previously unnoticed opportunities to become vitally involved. And three, create opportunities for vital involvement. And then you can do these things in different ways, both for yourself and with your senior clients. Now take out the occupational profile you completed before class and look at what you've written in the various columns and rows as I talk about making sense of this tool. It's often easier to talk about what you do than about who you are or what is deeply meaningful to you. But what we do and how we feel about doing it are closely related to personal strengths in ways that can be quite surprising. This worksheet helps you think about the various things you do and also what these activities tell you about your strengths for vital involvement. Column A shows things you do and like doing. These enjoyable activities are clearly related to personal strengths for vital involvement. They could be things you do daily or weekly, or more infrequently. They could happen on special occasions or be extremely rare. Column B includes things you don't do, but would like to do. These activities are likely related both to strengths and to weaknesses and barriers. They may be things you once did but don't do any longer, like the lifelong hunter who, now in a nursing home, sorely misses his time in the woods. They may also be things you've never done but would like to do, like the senior in Philadelphia who had always loved going to art museums but had studied only practical subjects in college. She began doing elder hostel or Rhodes Scholar programs in art history and art appreciation in retirement. Then she enrolled in a 2-year intensive class at Philadelphia's prestigious Barnes collection of post-impressionist art. Column B might seem more like pipe dreams than real possibilities. A fragile Minnesotan I'll call Eloise had long dreamt of visiting her son in Colorado. With vital involvement coaching and encouragement, she wound up planning and taking the trip, and then helping friends in her building think seriously about realizing their own dreams. These examples show how column B items can get at the underlying values, hopes, and dreams that help explain why particular activities are satisfying or not. The examples also illustrate the process of identifying dreams, and then identifying specific barriers, and then conceptualizing dreams in terms of underlying values that can be harnessed as strengths to counterbalance barriers. Column C includes things you do but don't like doing. You do them only because you have to. These burdensome activities are likely to be sources of frustration and to interfere with your overall life satisfaction. They may be related to your own needs, like sorting every day's mail, paying the bills, deciding what to throw away, or to the needs of others, like taking mother to physical therapy. You may discover in identifying these items that you don't actually dislike doing an activity itself. Rather, what you really dislike is the amount of it you have to do, like cook a meal every night, or the fact that you have to do it on someone else's schedule, as the grandchildren get home from school by 2:45, regardless of what I'm doing. The items themselves are likely related to barriers, but you might be surprised to discover that some of them are also related to personal strengths, as the observation, most of what I spend my time doing is boring, may reflect such strengths as a need to keep learning new things or growing in some way, a wish to be involved in making a difference around race relations, a need to share life's hard-won wisdom. Column D guides your thinking about how to link personal strengths to the community outside. For each item in column D, if you're the main person who cares about an activity, then it's probably part of a meaningful strength, and you need to keep a certain amount of it in your life. If someone else also cares about an item, then it's not only a strength of yours, but also part of a relationship that is important to you. That relationship itself probably constitutes its own important strength. Some examples of using column D items as links to vital involvement in the community include the story of a woman who really loved reading and was upset at the ongoing achievement gap, and she arranged to read to small groups of young children in a local after-school program. A newly retired math teacher located particular high school math teachers who were eager to have her as an in-class source of individual help for students the minute someone gets confused, rather than having to call her in to tutor long after somebody has been confused and missed everything that came after the initial item of confusion. A retired a retired event planner who had long made annual donations to a low-cost mental health clinic called the clinic's executive director and arranged to take responsibility for their annual fundraiser for the next 3 years. In each of these examples, a senior found someplace in the community who needed something that they wanted to share. One way to promote vital involvement living is to work with individuals. Here, you do assessment, planning, problem solving, and coaching along the lines of my examples so far. Another way is to create programs or other opportunities. In this more macro work, you essentially create supports in the environment for individuals to exercise their particular strengths, to make their uniquely valuable contributions. You could start a class, a discussion series, a training program, a workshop, a cooperative project, a work opportunity, or you could help to run a valuable nonprofit whose mission doesn't conform to local foundation priorities at the moment. Now take out the strengths identification questions you answered in your assignment. We're not going to work extensively with them today, but I do want to be sure you have some sense of what they are and how they can be useful in living vital involvement. The questions help get further into a senior's more abstract strengths, values, and commitments. They're particularly useful in doing vital involvement planning with people who are moving into or already living in some kind of full-time living community, ranging all the way from an active life retirement community through a nursing home. Although you likely won't be directly working with this material in Session 2's class discussion, you may very well choose to use this tool or the ideas it triggers in you as part of your fieldwork project, your thinking about yourself, or your subsequent work with seniors. The questions help us get at strengths and capacities that go unrecognized when someone says something like, "I don't do anything," or "I haven't been good at anything." Capacities like making do with nothing, being a loyal friend and partner, being a steadfast caregiver, the ability to calm a crying child, making people laugh, cooking something delicious. The questions also elicit stories that reveal such underlying strengths as a sense of history, family and generational past, a hope to visit a childhood best friend. They also reveal such underlying strengths as a lifelong appreciation of getting away from where you live and then appreciating later returning home. Getting dressed up, going out, and being with others who are enjoying the same thing. Listening to live music. Gardening. Helping others. Going to outdoor sports events. Again, once you've identified these strengths, you can match them with community opportunities or create the opportunities. People you're working with can help you identify what are, for them, community resources and supports. They can themselves become forces to create new opportunities or modify old ones. As you do more of this kind of work, you become increasingly familiar with existing community institutions, physical structures, and infrastructures that constitute resources, with resources that have been created or discovered in other communities, and with recognizing existing stuff as resources, opportunities, and supports. And you become adept at the creative behavior of translating elders' offhanded comments into strengths that can help build the community. When ALPA instructors talk about meaningful work, keep in mind the importance of expanding our notion of meaningful work. It can be paid or unpaid. Scheduling could be a fixed daily or weekly schedule, a fixed number of hours a day, a fixed number of days a week, a fixed number of hours a week, but specific days and hours are up to you. It could be involvement in time-limited projects, full-time involvement. Work can provide many different kinds of valuable supports apart from salary: transportation, training, space and time for socializing, meals during work hours, appreciation that is meaningful to you, access to on-site technology for your own purposes, and much, much more. The whole idea here is to enable seniors to meet their own multiple needs and at the same time contribute to increasing the overall strength and vitality of the community environment. To recap, we enrich seniors by helping them identify their own strengths and needs, maintain, use or exercise, and increase existing strengths, and grow new strengths. And we do all of that so they can contribute to the environment. We enrich the environment so that it provides opportunities for all citizens to express or act on their strengths and to get their needs met. We all do this by decreasing existing barriers or obstacles and by creating new supports and opportunities. In all these ways, we can help seniors, actually we can help people at all life stages, match their own needs, strengths, and growth with appropriate environmental needs and supports. Vital involvement living means that you are exercising your own strengths in a way that promotes vital involvement outside yourself. This cycle, with its two different entry points, is, after all, what community participation and individual health are all about, and that is the essence of living vital involvement.